Hey, Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. In light of the headlines about the militia seizing the federal building in southeastern Oregon, I want to revisit the events of Waco, the Oklahoma City building bombing, and September 11th. What all three of those events have in common is that they were purposeful propaganda put on by our federal government for the sake of agenda. And that is also the case in this militia standoff in southeastern Oregon. The militia are government agents in this case, controlled opposition. Now, this is the first headline put out by Huffington Post, who was ahead of the rest of the mainstream with this story the night it happened. Look at Huffington Post's headline: Militia seizes Oregon federal building. With regards to Waco, it was a federal siege. In Oklahoma City, Timothy McVeigh said he bombed the federal building as a response to what happened in Waco 2 years earlier to the day. The Waco raid was April 19th, 1993. The Oklahoma City bombing was April 19th, 1995. And Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols were members of the Michigan militia. Militia, seize, federal building. These are buzzwords for things already implanted in our mind from agenda of years past. Waco, Oklahoma City, and even September 11th. If you watch the mainstream media right now, they're talking about Waco a lot in regards to this, and they continue to refer to the men holding the building as terrorists. All mainstream networks are putting on guests that are describing these men as terrorists. All the buzzwords that are being reinforced in all of these psychological operations. So put on your listening cap. We're going to revisit Waco, Oklahoma City. We're going to talk about 9/11. I'm going to show you how all of these incidents have been synced up by the numbers, evidence of the script. If you missed the video I already did on the militia standoff in southeastern Oregon, I will link that in the description. I talked about how it was no coincidence that this began in Oregon while Oregon, the college football team, was playing in the Alamo Bowl against Texas Christian University. Alamo, Waco, Texas. Texas facing Oregon. All night, ESPN taunted its audience with this front page image, number 22 and number 3. Why? Because the Alamo began February 23rd, 2/23, 223. Remember, it's the Freemasons who control this nation, who control this media, who control these sports leagues. And they code their numbers again and again. Masonic equals 223. Masonic in simple English gematria also equals 74, just like Oregon. Oregon is the only state with a gematria of 74 out of the 50 states. It is the 33rd state. 33 and 74, a very Masonic pairing, which we're about to talk about in regards to Waco and more. Also factoring in on September 11th. Some other things to keep in mind: Alamo and Waco. Both locations in Texas, both with 42 gematria. Another very important number to the Freemasons. Freemason itself equals 42. This story's outside of Burns, Oregon. Burns happens to have the gematria of 74, just like Oregon, just like Masonic. 33 and 74, often paired. Oregon's the 33rd state. The federal building that's occupied, Melhauer, having gematria of 33, just like the word federal. And get this, Truth Seeker. Melhauer National Wildlife Refuge, the full name of the building, has gematria of 144, just like Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building, the building that blew up in Oklahoma City. This is no coincidence. 144, a very important number, a number that I have videos about. Please research my channel and search for the number 144, a wealth of information in that number. It also is a number that connects to the word time in Jewish gematria. All of these stories are planned decades in advance, mapping out time. So let's jump back in history to the Waco siege, which began February 28th, 1993, and ended April 19th, 1993. Notice that the Waco siege has gematria 57 and 66. Another important point about this event going on in southeastern Oregon is that it's by a family from Nevada, the Bundy family. Bundy has gematria of 66, so does family. This is a very important number to the founding of this nation. Freedom itself has gematria of 66, Empire 66, Manifest Destiny 66. This nation is very much based on the book of Revelation. The first Bibles were titled Gutenberg Bibles. Gutenberg Bible has gematria of 66, just like the number of books in the Bible. 66 books in the Bible, 39 Old Testament, 27 New. So 66, a number important to the Waco siege, the event that everyone's being reminded of with the story going on in Oregon right now and the Bundy family. The date the siege began, or I shouldn't say the siege, the day the standoff began, right now in Oregon it's just a standoff. What we're waiting to see is if there will eventually be a siege. A clue as to when that might happen, if it does, is that the Alamo lasted 13 days, and it began in Oregon while Oregon was participating in the Alamo Bowl. Anyhow, the date that Waco began, February 28th, 1993, a date with 142 numerology. A very special number, a number connected to 42, which we'll talk more about as we go on. Remember, Waco equals 42. If you write out 42, it sums to 142. So does the word terrorist. On September 11th, the attack lasted an hour and 42 minutes. Right now, the mainstream media is saying the Bundy family are terrorists. But this is Waco. And back in Waco, that was a word that was being introduced to us more slowly in the build-up to September 11th. The date February 28th, also a date with 123 numerology. The word conspiracy equals 123. We'll be talking more about that number as well. February 28th is the 59th day of the year, the date that the standoff began. David Koresh was born in the year 59. At his compound, Camp Davidian, they called themselves the Army of God, which has gematria of 59. Keep in mind that 59 is the kill number in Jewish gematria, and everybody was killed in Waco, at least according to the story. February 28th, 59th day of the year. Also, this was a story for the nation. Think about the date February 28th. United States of America in simple English gematria sums to 228, kind of like 2/28. The date of the siege, very interesting in numerology. A date with 45 numerology. That's interesting because the word siege itself sums to 45. Also a date with 116 numerology. David Koresh, the leader of the Waco compound, named gematria of 116. 116 is also 911 flipped upside down. The span of days that the standoff lasted from February 28th to the siege on April 19th, 51 days or 1 month and 23 days. Notice that the word conspiracy is 51 and 123. And this was a federal conspiracy, the word federal also having gematria 51. Federal, the small way, is 33. David Koresh killed at the age of 33. 33, a number that shows up in all of these major federal propaganda, false flags, hoaxes, whatever you want to call them. So notice the Branch Davidians were a separation from the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Here's why that's so interesting, Truth Seeker. First, notice that Branch Davidians has gematria of 66, like the Waco siege, like the number connected to the Bundy family, and more. Seventh-day Adventist Church, though, has gematria of 109. And why that's so interesting is because the date of the siege, also the date of the Oklahoma City bombing, is the 109th day of the year. Notice the word Adventist has gematria of 33. Very popular number in spirituality of all kinds. Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, all of them. 33, the master teacher number in numerology. The word teacher has gematria of 33. So David Koresh, the leader of the compound, killed in the siege. Not his birth name, David Koresh, a name that he changed his name to. Anyhow, David Koresh has gematria of 53, like the word religion, and again in simple English gematria, 116, like 911 upside down. Also, like the numerology of the date of the siege. In the siege, they said that 76 people were killed, including David Koresh. The word master equals 76. So does the name Koresh. Again, not his birth name. His birth name was Vernon Wayne Howe. His birth name has gematria of 87, just like Waco siege, just like justice, just like punish, just like truth. We'll talk more about 87 in regards to the Clintons and the Oklahoma City bombing, so keep that number in mind. He was born August 17th, 1959. What's interesting about this date are a couple of things. For one, it has numerology of 40, which is what he would eventually change his name to, David, which has gematria of 40. Also, it's a date with 84 numerology. United States of America equals 84. So does Savior. He saw himself as a modern times prophet, which we'll talk more about. The date that he made his name change, let's see where I got this truth seeker. Or that's still coming up. The date that he made his legal name change had numerology of 129, the day he filed to have his name changed to David Koresh. Branch Davidians, the group that he led, has gematria of 129, and Branch Davidians' religious sect in Pythagorean gematria, also 129. Put to death at age 33 by the federal government, just like Timothy McVeigh. From the date he died until his birthday was a span of 120 days. The full title for the Waco siege has gematria of 120. Some things could be a coincidence, but oftentimes in these stories, the main characters, the date of death, and the measurement to their birth is connected to the story. So just make that note right there. He died in Mount Carmel Center, which is shown burning up here at the top of this post. This is the building he died in. In gematria, this sums to 74. David Koresh died at age 33 in this building. 33 and 74 is a very Masonic pairing. Again, Oregon, the 33rd state, the only with a gematria of 74. Think about how Jesus and cross equals 74. Jesus crucified at 33. The word Messiah also equals 74. Gospel. Special numbers, Masonic pairings. On the periodic table, only the 33rd element, arsenic, has an atomic weight of 74, and arsenic, the word, also has gematria of 33. Think about arsenic in terms of death, killing, sacrifice, often used to poison people. With regards to David Koresh's birth, his mother, Bonnie Sue Clark, has the birthday of September 8th, 1944, which I find really interesting. It makes me wonder if this story is even real. If you're not aware, September 8th is the Virgin Mary's birthday. The Virgin Mary's birthday. The mother of Jesus. And David Koresh saw himself as a modern Jesus.